The purpose of quarantine is to closely monitor patients so that symptoms can be picked up early and the appropriate measures taken.
This tool of public health, quarantine, works by separating and restricting the movement of people who may have been exposed to a contagious disease to see if they become sick. As many countries, and eventually Jamaica, began to grapple with the introduction of a new strain of the coronavirus called COVID-19, quarantine has been one of the measures implemented. In Jamaica, it begins at our ports of entry. Government assessed the risks and identified several countries that posed the greatest risk to introducing the virus on the island through travel from their citizens or Jamaicans in the diaspora. Travel was restricted, and those granted landing privileges were assessed and determined if they needed to be quarantined. Persons are generally placed in quarantine for the established incubation period of the particular disease. As it relates to COVID-19, that's 14 days.
When we place persons in quarantine, what we want to do is to monitor on a daily basis and to ensure that if there are any symptoms that are developing, we pick it up early before the person reach to a point where they are coughing or sneezing and are more likely to be able to spread the virus.
There are, in general, two ways in which persons can be quarantined: in a government facility or at home.
The process of quarantine persons at home is not a simple one that we just send persons home. The homes are investigated by the health departments. We ensure that there is adequate space for the person to remain far away from other persons, and we ensure that the person is educated as to how it is that they conduct themselves, how it is that they move around. We ensure that the family is also educated, and then the health department checks on this patient on a daily basis. Now that check may mean that the person may be given a thermometer, and they're asked to check their temperatures, and they're given a log that they monitor their symptoms, and this is reviewed by the health department on a daily basis. If necessary, the health department visits the home on a daily basis as well. So we restrict persons who are in quarantine from going outside of their homes. And essentially in a home, what you really need is just a room and an adjoining bathroom. The general precautions in terms of making sure that you keep your distance, 3 feet is what we recommend. The person who is at home who of course does not want to spread any possible thing that they may have to their relatives will take the necessary precautions in terms of some of them may wear a mask, okay, to prevent, if they're talking to their relatives or friends, they may choose to wear a mask. The washing of hands is very, very important, because any kind of droplets that get on your hand, you can transfer to your face, and you can therefore get it into your air passages or into the eyes and cause an infection. So the washing of hands, making sure that you have that facility, and also for hand sanitization, if you don't wash immediately, that is also recommended.
As at March 17, there are 4 government quarantine facilities across the island.
Essentially, for a quarantine facility, what we really need is that the person is separated from other persons and there is minimum contact.
When persons are quarantined at one of these national facilities, they are kept in a room and monitored daily by members of a healthcare team. They are fed and their daily needs met during the quarantine period. In some cases, a third form of quarantine may be required: the quarantine of an entire community. For instance, approximately 12,000 residents of 7 and 8 miles in Bull Bay St. Andrew are now under quarantine, following news there was community spread leading from the first person to test positive for the novel coronavirus in Jamaica. Like home and self-quarantine, residents are required to be quarantined in their homes for 14 days. They are required to remain inside their houses and not wander about in the community unless necessary. They must remain within the mapped out boundaries of the community, which are now manned by the security forces. During the period, government will deliver care packages to the residents, which include food, water, and in some cases, medicine. They are also educated on what is happening to them, what to expect, and how to prevent the situation from escalating. Whether persons are in home or government facility quarantine, it is important that they abide by the quarantine guidelines, maintain a positive attitude, and contact the Ministry of Health and Wellness COVID-19 helplines if someone in the household gets sick.